Yes. What's good, everybody? Nick Dais back here at the Lamb Show on all social media outlets with the New York Knicks Report here on Chat Sports. Before we start this video, make sure you have subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/chatsportstv. It is in the link below. Give us a thumbs up as well. As we move forward in this video, we will be talking about the New York Knicks roster breakdown. We've done all that fun stuff with free agent gets and draft picks and etc. But today we are going to break down the New York Knicks roster, every single player that is on the roster going into next year. And we've broken it up into 5 different tiers. I'm having fun with this video as we pull up the list graphic. Tier number 1, we are calling this tier the Stallions, aka the stars of the New York Knicks going into 2019. Tier number 2, we're calling this one the top shooters, key role players for the New York Knicks. Tier number 3 is guard play, strictly guards for the New York Knicks. Tier number 4, the grizzled vets, the vets that the Knicks brought in free agency and vets that were on the roster last year. And tier number 5, camp boys, 2 guys that I think are going to be competing for the last roster spot for the New York Knicks. With that being said, let's pull up list graphic number 1 once again and tell you about the players that we are considering stallions for the 2019 season, and that is Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and RJ Barrett, the number 3 pick in this most recent NBA draft. Player number 1, Julius Randle. Look, I think he's going to be the focal point of this offense. Every single season since he's joined the NBA, his numbers have gone up in scoring per game. He's going to be the main attraction for the Garden Faithful on the offensive side of the ball. He should be the leading bucket getter. He should be the highest point getter for the New York Knicks this season. As we move along, the best player on the team, it should be him. That's why they brought him in, close to $20 million per year, the big free agent. And I think last year, 21-8-3, I think he could go to 24-8-3 with him getting more shots, more opportunities for him to flourish. And I think the Knicks are going to want to validate the money that they spent on Julius Randle this offseason. Next up, Mitchell Robinson, the rim running big, shot blocking extraordinaire. I want to see him take the next step in grabbing rebounds. Only 6 rebounds per game last year and 20 minutes per game. This dude averaged 2.4 blocks per game. Absolute beast on the defensive end. The defensive end isn't the issue. I would like to see some more rebounds. I want him to be Rudy Gobert 2.0. Rudy Gobert was a late first round pick, early second round pick for the Utah Jazz. This was a guy who they did not expect to blossom into an all-NBA player who's going to be eligible for the Supermax for the Utah Jazz next year. So that's what I want to see from Mitchell Robinson, a high-energy guy. We'll love to see him emulate the game that Rudy Gobert has over in Utah. Player card for RJ Barrett in Summer League, averaged 15.4 points per game, 8 rebounds and 4 assists, as well as almost 1 block a game in the Summer League over 30 minutes. Look, he did most of his damage, and this was the coolest part about his game in the Summer League. And as a Knicks fan, as I'm sure as all of you guys know, pretty much the entire roster outside of the free agents that they brought in played in Summer League. So you're basically watching the Summer League team. That whole team is going to be playing in 2019-2020 for the New York Knicks. And RJ Barrett did most of his damage in the paint, got the majority of his buckets in the painted area. Deadly high screen and roll combination is what I'm expecting between him and Mitchell Robinson, who we just talked about, and a very versatile screen and roll between him and Julius Randle. I think ultimately this year I want him to be a secondary playmaker / scorer for the New York Knicks. Ideally, towards the tail end of the season, come March, come April, I would like to see him be in the crunch time and be a guy that they could toss the ball down low and make him go get his own bucket, because offensively, that's where I think he's going to flourish the most long term. But his immediate impact is going to be on the defensive end and being a secondary option for this New York Knicks team. I want you guys to weigh in the comments below. Who do you think of these 3 players in the Stallion tier, tier number 1 for the New York Knicks? Do you think is going to be the most important for the New York Knicks to have success in 2019-2020? Is it Julius Randle, the big free agent get? Is it Mitchell Robinson, the second round gem from last year? Or is it the number 3 pick in this recent NBA draft, RJ Barrett? As we move along, tier number 2, we are calling this one the top shooters and key role players. Not to be confused with just regular role players. These are guys that we're expecting a lot from. And player number 1 is IGNAS, BRAZDEIKIS, Bobby Portis, and Kevin Knox. The common theme with all of these guys is that they can shoot the three. As far as what we saw in the Summer League with IGNAS, 18 points per game, 67% true shooting percentage. The analytics people love that metric. 58% from three. And he was the Knicks' most efficient and consistent scorer in Summer League. Even had that 30 spot against the Phoenix Suns in Summer League. If his jumper could stay consistent, this is going to be a guy who's going to be a fan favorite. He could be that Steve Novak role. Guy that comes in, drops buckets from threes. You need to shoot threes in the NBA. This version of the NBA, you gotta hit your shots from the outside. Look, he's not gonna shoot 58% from three because that's ridiculous. That'd be like an all-time kind of scoring season or shooting season. Not even Steph Curry, who's arguably the best shooter of all time, shoots 58% from three. But if he could hit over 40% from three, I think he's gonna be a big addition. And I could see him eventually playing himself into those crunch time minutes. I'm a big fan of crunch time. When I look at your roster, what is going to be your final 5 guys on the floor, 4 minutes left in the game, on the road, against a quality opponent, down 4 points? Who are the 5 guys you're putting out there? Manu Ginobili, all his time with the Spurs, he never started, but come crunch time, that dude was out there on the court. And that's what I want to see with a guy like IGNAS. That's also what I want to see with a guy like Bobby Portis, who Bobby Portis, I think his best attribute to this team is going to be the stretch 4, stretch 5 role that he brought to the table last year with both the Bulls and the Wizards. Here's the thing. We know about his antics, and he's a bad teammate sometimes, like he broke someone's jaw, and that's why he ended up getting shipped out of town. But Bobby Portis, 40% from three last season, a career high. He's a big man who could get the traditional big man, and this is where I think he's going to flourish the most. The Joel Embiids, the Brook Lopez's, the guys that are back to the basket kind of centers, Nikola Vucevic also, those guys that are back to the basket, bring them out, get Mitchell Robinson involved, stretch the floor. That's where I think him being a small ball kind of center is going to be where the Knicks are going to have Bobby Portis flourish the most. Next up is Kevin Knox, close to 13 points per game last year for the former #1 pick in the 2018 draft for the New York Knicks. Last year, anytime he played a lot, he produced. So that's pretty promising for a young guy, right? Anytime he played close to 35 minutes per game, he averaged close to 5.5 rebounds per game and 18 points per game. That is very, very promising for a guy that is still a very raw player. I remember him coming out of Kentucky. He was a guy that was the ultimate wild card, one of the youngest players that got drafted last year. More time equals more production for him, and that's what I think you're going to see. Ideally, he is the 6th, 7th man off the bench. Sorry, off, 6th or 7th guy on your lineup. I think that's where he's going to be and have the most significant impact for him. And ideally, he comes out and closes out games. I would like to see Kevin Knox, RJ Barrett, even IGNAS as well, be out there when the game is on the line. That'll be very promising for us. List graphic, tier number 3, guard play. These are the 4 point guards, shooting guards for the New York Knicks that I think are going to be very, very important to the New York Knicks' success. I have a question to you guys. From a scale of 1 to 10, these are the 4 point guards that the Knicks are going to have next year. Elfrid Payton, Dennis Smith Jr., Alonzo Trier, and of course, the notorious Frank Ntilikina. 1 to 10, how confident are you in the New York Knicks guard play going into 2019? Let us know in the comments below, because I'll be honest with you folks, I'm at like a 5. I really like the addition of Elfrid Payton, and I think we could start with him. I think the biggest free agent addition for the New York Knicks, if you think of how bad the guard play was last year, is Elfrid Payton. Dead last in assists, total assists per game were the New York Knicks. He's a playmaker. I think he can play the facilitator playmaker, where he can get other people involved. He has shown flashes of triple-double upside. His most important thing is that he's a pass-first point guard, and I think that's very important, especially when you got guys like IGNAS, you got Kevin Knox, RJ Barrett, who's going to need the ball in space in order to be able to create their own shots. Next up, we got Frank Ntilikina. He's best suited to be your defensive stopper. Look, defensively, there are no concerns. There are no questions about Frank Ntilikina as a defensive staple on your roster. The issue is this guy can't buy a jump shot, and that's where Frank still needs to show drastic improvement in his offensive game. But if you look at a lot of teams, the success of a lot of teams, guard play, you have one guy that's tremendous offensively and one guy that's tremendous defensively. And if you could get Frank Ntilikina just to check and contain the opposing guards on some of these teams that come in, I think that's going to be his best asset for this team going forward. Next up, we got Dennis Smith Jr. He screams sixth man of the year kind of candidate. He's a guy who's very electric. He comes in, he's a spark. He can shoot you out of holes, but get you back into games as well. He's not a guy that's a consistent player with his three-point shots. He does get trigger happy with the three ball, but I think Dennis Smith Jr. is a guy who, if he's the leader of your second unit, along with a guy like Kevin Knox, that's not a bad second unit to have when you throw teams out there. The second units, especially in the regular seasons, are very, very important to holding leads or to getting you back into a game. Alonzo Trier, ideally he plays 15 to 20 minutes per game. Tremendous story. This was a guy that went undrafted, earned himself a contract with the New York Knicks. Post All-Star game last year, averaged close to 18 points per game. Feel good story, like we said. And he's solid if he's a backup, but if he's a starter, that's when it kind of becomes a little questionable about what the makeup of your roster is. Tier number 4, one of my favorite, most controversial tiers, the Grizzled Vets. We got Reggie Bullock. We'll start off with him. Then we'll get to Taj Gibson, Morris, and Wayne Ellington. So, Reggie Bullock, if you guys have been watching this video, thank you for always watching the New York Knicks Report. And here's the thing. If you've watched these videos, you know that Reggie Bullock is kind of just blah for me. You know, it doesn't excite me. Roughly 10 points per game in his 2018 season was what he was averaging. I think the New York Knicks are in deep trouble if this guy plays close to 30 minutes a game. Luckily, they reworked that contract, and it wasn't as bad as we initially thought when they offered it to Reggie Bullock. So I think that if he's playing close to 25, 30 minutes on this team, it is very alarming for the young Bucks, the young Knick guards that we have. That shows that, to me, that the organization and the coaching staff is not confident in the New York Knicks guards if Reggie Bullock is playing big minutes. Taj Gibson, his best fit and role for this New York Knicks team going into 2019 is to be a mentor to one Mitchell Robinson. I think that's the biggest reason why they brought him in. A lot of similarities between them two, both offensively and defensively. High energy guys, spark plugs. They'll be guys that he is a guy that could teach Mitchell Robinson how to be a pro's pro and how he could learn how to stay out of foul trouble, get better defensively, get better on the defensive rebounding end, offensive rebounding end. You know, Mitchell Robinson got the blocks on lock, no pun intended. But I think that is what Taj Gibson is best suited for this New York Knicks team. Next, we got Wayne Ellington, who I think is a very underrated three-point shooter. He finished top 5 in three-point percentage a couple years ago with the Miami Heat. When you want to go small and you want to run with some of these teams like the Rockets, like the Warriors, even Milwaukee last year, these teams that like to space you out and shoot threes, you need a guy like Wayne Ellington. So I think Wayne Ellington, you'll see there'll be games this year where he'll play 30 plus minutes because of the matchup, but then there'll be games where he might be a DNP and he doesn't even see the court. So that's going to be where Wayne Ellington is really going to flourish with this New York Knicks team. Last but not least, Chat Sports, Knicks Chat Sports fan base's favorite player, one half of the Morris twins. If basketball had a hockey enforcer, this would be this guy. He is a player that takes no BS from anybody. He will stand up for his teammates. He's played in big games with the Boston Celtics, so he knows what it's like to go into a hostile environment or to play in a big-time playoff game. Not that the Knicks are set to make the playoffs. They have a 28.5 Vegas win total, one of the lowest in the Eastern Conference. I believe it is the 13th lowest win total in the East. So basically they're a team that a lot of things got to go right for them to make the playoffs. With that being said, I don't think he will be in the team's plans long term. This could be another guy that could play a mentor role to someone like Kevin Knox, who Kevin Knox should be coming off the bench to spell a guy like Morris. List, graphic, and tier number 5, calling this one Camp Boys, Kadeem Allen and Damyean Dotson, two guys that had some really feel-good stories. We'll start off with Kadeem Allen, signed as a two-way player from the G League last year, played about 20 minutes per game last season with the Knicks. He shouldn't be seeing more than that. I think it'll be very alarming for a guy that's a borderline NBA player. He's more of a G League player, but hats off to him for his perseverance and getting himself to the big show, which is the NBA. I think a guy like Kadeem Allen will be fighting for the last roster spot, but I also think that with all these new additions, if this guy is playing 25, 30 minutes per game, it's concerning for the Knicks going forward. Last but not least, Damyean Dotson became the 11th player in the history of the NBA to play in the G League game and in the NBA in the same day. 27 minutes per game last year. Once again, it is a tremendous story for him, but we are in trouble as an organization if guys like Frank Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr., Peyton, RJ Barrett, these young guys are losing minutes to guys like him. I think he'll be fighting for the last roster spot on the team. As we sign off here, a question to the audience. Who's more likely to be a key role player for the New York Knicks between Kadeem Allen and Damyean Dotson? Let me know. As far as I could go, it's at The Lamb Show on all social media outlets. Make sure you give a thumbs up to this video and you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/chatsportstv.